Hello guys, welcome to Trading Parrot. I'm gonna do the market close update and I'm gonna focus on this potential breakdown from the bear flag that we were discussing just this morning. We'll see what could be the impact of this on the daily time frame. And of course, we're gonna sneak peek into the order book to see what's going on in here. It's been a tough day for the longs, so you better take a seat and take easy what I'm about to tell you. Guys, if you like this type of content, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell to get notified every time I put out one of these videos. Today, I managed to squeeze over 10 altcoins in a single video, following your suggestions of making shorter videos, packing more content in less time. So I hope you give it a like, watch it and share it with your friends. Bitcoin traders predict a larger correction as BTC price eyes sub 100k liquidity. Let's see what they're talking about. Let's see if it makes sense. Bitcoin price consolidates around 105. There's liquidity, of course, building up on both sides thanks to the sideways price action, and after falling to flip 106, it's retracing to establish support, but 100k is a key level of interest at the moment for Bitcoin traders, and I actually agree with that. They're showing a point of interest in this area, which is more or less what we've been looking to. That is what I call usually the neckline of 107k. And it's becoming quite an important level for a lot of traders. They're saying BTC is likely to go sideways for some time as this larger correction plays out in the first weeks of June, waiting for more hard data and the FOMC on June 18. And just like for a few days we saw massive outflows, we're starting to see now massive inflows as well. In this case today we saw 12,000 of inflows into exchanges, mostly going to Kraken. I have updated the Bitcoin status and we're gonna discuss it shortly before going into the charts. On the 4-hour we are still in the neutral area, and that is because in one hand we had a breakout to the upside, but at the same time that breakout is starting to show a little bit of a rolling over. We lost the first line of most bullish defense, the second one, and potentially we're gonna lose a third one by the time we are talking if we manage to close those candles in the current state. We talk about a revenge rally into 107. That is my narrative since around Saturday or Friday when we were at the lows, that we could visit up to 107k and hit that neckline. The neckline is massively becoming popular. I see it being chat about in social media and in other videos, but people are starting to talk now that we are visiting, not prior to that, which in my opinion has a little bit more of merit. We have to admit that the price action on the 4-hour is still healthy. We haven't broken any low. We're gonna look into that once we get into that chart. On the daily, we have the 6th day that we are in the previous range, not managing to reclaim the breakout that we just had a week ago. The imbalances that were attracting the price to the upside, most of them have been taken. There is just one above 107, but to get there, we really need to break that neckline. And at the moment, there is a selling wall that I want to show you when we get into the order book to see if it's still there and how big it is at the moment. On the weekly, we are in gray, not red, because we are kind of testing constantly that support that brings us into the previous range as well. That is 104.4. So a few times we've been below it, then we reclaim it, we rally, we come back, we lose it again. That's why it's in gray. If we lose that, it is kind of a big deal. At least it can send us into the bull market support band. And the monthly is still very happy. Let's look at the 4-hour and let's see how things are reacting. You can see that initially we have this support, which we lost. So that is the most bullish one. So support number 1 lost during the rally. I say that that is not a big deal, that we have still higher chances to continue to the upside. And that's what we did with this high of 54. Then we have a high at 58, and that is where we met with the big resistance at 107. We managed to get into 106.8, but hey, $200 away from the resistance. Since then, we've seen a retracement of 2.44%, but as I said, we haven't really, with closing prices, broken any structure. You can see high, low, higher high, same low, we could say. Then we get another higher high and another higher high, and this low is breaking that one, but it's not breaking this one. So we kind of get a mixed bag where we can kind of claim that the bull look of this The structure is still bullish. It is breaking though this support with this 4-hour candle on the price of the whole bear flag. The RSI has done it already with closing basis, so it's kind of saying we are very ready for the technical target of going into 101. That is the same extension from the order block into the bottom of the bear flag. That is where we are pointing to, and at this area in here there is ton of liquidity, which makes it an easy target. The only defense between here and there is this bull order block that has been already used. So if that was the card under our sleeve to save the day, that volume, that liquidity has already been used once. And you know what happens when you jump on a trampoline multiple times? Eventually it breaks. So try number one, done. If we come back in here, it's gonna be less strong. If we do, of course, the 4-hour can get bought up. After all, that is support and not do anything. So if you are entering on a breakout in here, that is a bad trade, I will say. Particularly if you are shorting this intra candle. That's how they trap all retail. If you get away with profits, good for you, but try not to do that very often because you're gonna lose the whole account. Support number 2 lost, and we are now in a move to the downside on the 4-hour. Let's go into the daily. Let's see what damage that is doing to the daily. So far it's just a rejection. Again, multiple attempts to get beyond 106 and we still cannot do it. Now it's 2 days of rejection, but still not taking the low of 104. We take the lows of 104 and pretty much is confirmed that we came inside the previous range to stay in here for a little bit longer. Defending the lows, putting a higher low and staying within this area keeps the chances of breaking beyond 106 still likely. MACD still in the red. It was slowing down, but today's price action is contributing to put it back into dark red. Of course, this is intra-candle. By the time I wake up in the morning, this might be back into the light pink. We need to see in the early morning update. So make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss that update either. And as I say, the weekly is constantly being tested. When I started shooting the video, we were slightly below 104. Right now, the bulls are holding that support once again. Big deal if by Sunday we are below this, or if we are holding, that's bullish. Below is bearish and is calling for a journey into the bull market support band that at the moment is at 94.6, but maybe when we meet with it, it could be a 98. It depends on the speed of the movement. And today we're getting another retest of the CPR pivots. After all, pivots are strong support and are the most difficult ones to get broken. We have spent all June just bouncing on top of this as a trampoline. So let's look at the liquidity. The short-term liquidity, as I mentioned, is located between 100 to 101k, precisely at the distance that we need to travel from the pattern of the bear flag. Doing the extension of 1 takes all that area. If we remove the 10x's, you can see that high leverage is not just located now at 100k, but also halfway through at 102. That is what we call, guys, putting a little bit of oil in the pan so the price can have an easier journey to the target. So things are looking good for that journey into here, but hey, monthly, weekly timeframes are still healthy. If we are above 104.4, we are not really breaking the weekly, and having the weekly on our side makes it challenging for the daily really to break lower levels. We usually get just the 4-hour to get bearish. We take a short, we need to take profits very quickly because we have those higher time frames creating pressure to the upside. That is what people refer to as trade with the trend, because the trend is still your friend. So can you take shorts? Absolutely, as long as you know the limitations of shorting an uptrend. It's called contrarian and it's not necessarily the easiest thing ever. And looking at the longer term liquidity, I cannot stop seeing a head and shoulder in here. Although every single bearish pattern in all this move up has failed. So although I see the bearish pattern, I look at it with an one eye closed and I'm just like, do I trust you? Are you really gonna break down this time? Particularly having all this liquidity in there. The 25x's are big at around 100x, at 100k, sorry. 10x's at the moment are located here at the top. 5x definitely overcrowded area from the top, and when we include all leverages, the most liquidity is definitely at the top, and you can see how insignificant is 100k, but hey, we're very close, just 4k down, and we take it and we take out of the way those 25x's that the exchange really doesn't like them to succeed in any way. They usually wipe them out before making a move against that. So that means coming 4.6k down versus a move of 7.5k up. And we can see how it's becoming more intense, the liquidity now at 101. We could say that now is brighter than we can see at the top. What you can do is find a video where I'm sharing this chart around end of May, and you're gonna see actually the opposite. We had very bright liquidity in here and very dark around 102, or at least relatively. So here's the thing, they've been shorting all the area of the resistance of the neckline. Every time we get close to 107, they start building a massive selling wall. But now they went nuts. As soon as we reach 106.7, they place this selling wall in here, which is very substantial, particularly considering that it's not ending necessarily at 108. It spans up until 109, and that created a spike in the ask liquidity that you can see in here, peaking at 0.09. We covered that in the morning, and throughout the whole day we can see that it has remained more or less in the red. That means that even with the price moving down, we don't necessarily see that particular modus operandi that every time we see a low, we get bidding activity, new orders defending the price. Instead of that, we come lower and they are shorting it even more. We are just now seeing a little bit of an equilibrium, and since we've been in an uptrend, I wouldn't be surprised that we just go a little bit lower and the bidding comes back in. The question is that bidding actually gonna manage now to take the 107? That remains my line in the sand. So they can do whatever inside this range, defend it here, go back up, but if they really cannot manage to break 107, call it, if they don't remove this stupid selling wall in here, it's gonna be very tough to move up. After all, this is definitely market maker. It's a lot of liquidity. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have this new chart in here, which I really like. I wanted high block capital to help me understanding how to put the price overlapping with this crazy matrix, which is showing me multiple indicators all condensed in a single picture. So for example, in here we've been working with the bid and ask ratio between 0 and 5%, showing me where they're defending and where they are not. And it's 5% because it only tracks deviations of 5%, what orders are there up and down. In this case, I can see 10, 1, 2, and 5, and everything is normalized with percentile. So looking back 2 weeks, and it's showing me that the defense that we have in here is very dark. That means that if we use a deviation of 10% of price up and down, there is not much bidding activity at the moment, neither in a deviation of 1, 2, or 5. You can see the areas where there is defense, and that is where we find local bottoms. That's why I care about. I also care about whether top traders are longing or they are shorting or they are not active, and I care about the net shorts and a lot of other things. Whenever we see some spikes very light yellow in here, that's gonna be sometimes some interesting alpha. The thing I'm missing is to see the price right there, so I don't have to do the exercise of, hey, what happened in here on the 30th of May? Why was this so light yellow? And then I have to go to the chart and find 30th of May and the corresponding candle. If I see the price in here, which is totally possible because I saw High Block Capital showing that in a tweet, but they still don't respond. The delta liquidation now is still very flat, so there is no alpha from this. Fair value gaps, obviously we haven't changed anything because the price is just in the area with no fair value gaps. And let's look at general markets, because today it was looking like we were going to break out. At the moment, general markets look a little bit more lean towards the red, I will say. Let's look at the indexes. We are still below resistance on the S&P, and on Nasdaq we are right against the resistance, slightly breaking out. So we'll see by the end of the week if we get a breakout in here and if that helps Bitcoin moving up. Guys, if you want to trade a free position of $500 for free, have a look at my Bybit link in the description and make use of the position airdrop, which you can use to trade any of the coins in this list. Just open the link and then click register to claim and then choose which coin you want to trade. Of course, make sure that you make profits so you get to keep those. If you want to stay non-KYC and fund the account with crypto, open the account and do all of that in less than 30 seconds, this is the way to go. Bluffin is a non-KYC exchange and is offering to win up to $10,000 in rewards based on deposit and trading volume sizes. And you can also use my QR code in here to validate that you're using a Bluffin account with my link in the description. And if you meet the requirements, you can get all my indicators for free. Tomorrow we are going to have another private TA session. You can watch my private TA sessions in the section live in my channel. If that is your thing, you're going to get to choose up to 5 altcoins that you want me to do TA. We usually do it in very small groups. Last week there were only 4 people there. Sometimes there is 20 people. We do it once a week, 1 hour. It's private and live, and you can ask as many questions as you want. You can even join with camera, microphone, and we can have a short discussion about any topic related to trading. If that is your thing, look up for the link of Patreon in the description, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.